Hi everybody, Mary Mitchell here. I got this frame at Hobby Lobby. It's an open frame and it was in the clearance section. As you know, as I explained in my prior video, I usually wait till their frames go on, their open frames or any frames, really go on sale for 50% off. But this one was in the clearance and there you can see that it was, $39.99, so it would have been 20, but I got it for $9, $10 really, which means there was a defect, and I found it. I'm pointing to it now, and there was a gap where the joint meets. I guess in the joint, where the two wood pieces of wood meet, and there was two of them actually that I found, and so right away I knew all I needed was some wood filler. Wood fill in the gap with the wood, and then let it dry and paint over it. I didn't even have to sand it. That's how easy it was. So I'm mentioning hobby. Now, if I'm holding it to the side there because this does stick out a little bit, just like the last video where I framed the flamingo. But it doesn't matter because it doesn't affect the way the painting hangs. I put a sawtooth on this and it came equipped with the hardware to put hanging wire, and I do both, and I show you that. I go through the entire process because I want both on it. And when I tested to see how it hung perfectly, the same way either way. So here I go. I have the wood glue out. I took a small little ball, I rolled it up, and I pushed it in. And I did this a couple times on each side to make sure I really got it in there. It worked best doing it from the outside. I tried it from the inside, but it wasn't working out as well as I had hoped. So I changed my mind. I scraped it off and I did it this way. But before I began painting it, I took a damp cloth and I got rid of that extra wood filler where I didn't need it to be, and it came right off. So once everything was dry, I took my paintbrush. I found some carbon black that I had from Golden. Anything would work probably, but it was a perfect match. I was careful in just doing the parts that needed to be touched up. I wanted to make sure that I didn't have to do the whole frame, and I didn't have to because the match was perfect. I got very lucky with this. So once I was done painting around the whole frame, I decided to put a dust cover on the painting. So I took double-sided tape and I put it on all four sides of the frame wood around the canvas. And you press down, you put it on, you press down. I did all four sides, as I said. Make sure that you press it down. I'm guiding it with my fingers, which goes faster and is much easier and accurate than me trying to use the glue gun that I bought.
I meant tape dispenser gun, not glue gun. Sorry,
It
guys.
just didn't work out well for me. I tried, but it was an expense that I wish I didn't incur because this is so much faster and easier when you do it with your hands. So after you're done with that, you just peel off the outer part of the tape, and you'll find that it sticks nicely so long as you make sure that you've pressed down and made sure that it's adhered, in the way that it should be. Once that's done, you took my canvas, got my dust cover rolled it out. There's many brands you can get. There's archival, there's acid-free, there's just so many. But for this, I think this was made by 3M. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. Just it's everywhere. You can get it anywhere, really. And I cut it off so that I left a little bit on the sides, and then I trim it. But you can see me pressing it down onto the frame so that it's nice and secure first before I start to trim it. I start trimming it, and I use a very sharp scissor, but first I fold it over so I have a guide. These scissors were nice. They just sort of glided right along. I held the outer part of the scissor against the side of the canvas, and they just, like I said, the scissor just in most part of this just kind of glided right along, and it was easier. I didn't want to use the razor because I was afraid to cut the canvas, and just trying to avoid that, this was a no-brainer, and as I said, it worked out really well. So after I do this part, I pop it into the frame and take a look at it, and I like it. It looks nice, so I pull out my hardware because I want to now attach this to my canvas painting to the frame. So I have some what they call Z hooks here. They're also given other names too. Now these hooks have a hole on both sides to anchor, to put the screw into. Be careful. Make sure that you have the right size. If you don't have the right size, you run the risk of cracking the wood, or if it's too big, you'll have a gap. When you go to anchor it, and when you put the screws in and then you hold it up, you will see the gap between the frame and the canvas if the Z hook is too big for the painting and the frame. So in this case, it was a 1/4 inch, and I found that out because I mistakenly used a larger Z hook, and I saw that there was the gap. I could see right through it, so I had to take it out. Also, be careful that you have enough wood. You're not too close to the edge of the frame because you run the risk of splitting the wood. So just be careful with that, because I did that. I split the wood because I tried to screw the hook and I didn't realize it was too close to the edge of the frame. And once I realized what I had done, I took it out. I took it out and I placed 2 hooks on both sides, and I was very careful to, when I slowed down. I mean, I'm not going fast. It looks like I am, of course, because it's sped up 10 times. But I slowed down and I put the screw in very carefully and paid attention to any sounds I might hear for cracking and like that. So as I said, I did it I did 2 on this side. And I'm kind of showing you, what I did. So now there's something also that, when you're screwing a screw into a frame, you can also rub the threaded part of the screw into soap, and that also helps. That's just a little secret my husband told me about, and it actually worked. But you still have to just go nice and slow so that you don't crack the wood. Okay, so now you saw that I was measuring for a saw hook, and this was really funny because I cut out a lot of it because I was like all thumb. So measuring the width of the wood frame, and the canvas, and it's 1 inch. And so I'm trying to get everything centered and everything centered for the length and the width. And then what I decided would be a good idea after pounding this, little nail into the thing, is to do a very shallow starter hole, and that worked much better. So I put I put the nail in with this tiny nail with this hammer, and finally succeeded. So there it is. And then what I decided to do that is, since it came with hanging hardware, which, as you can see, these are hung, the way this hardware is hung is not the way I would have done it. I would have hung those hooks so that they went into the other direction, inside, instead of up, because I pull it tight, and what happened was the hook actually was hitting a little bit of the wall, and it was not a big deal, but I ended up taping it. But watch what I'm doing here. I'm threading it. I go outside, I go under, I go around the wire again, I go back into it, and then I thread it all, the rest of it, around the rest of the hanging wire. And that's the way to do it. It works, it keeps it secure. This wire is plastic coated. I won't work with anything else because it hurts your hands, and it doesn't stay as well. It doesn't stay as nice. as far as just my own opinion. So now that we're done, I want to bring a couple things to your attention. I taped the hooks because these are hung up where when I do mine, I put them sideways so they don't pull out. So I just taped them because I don't know, I just figured in case they touched the wall, it was, no big deal. And then the other thing is that these screws, you do not have to screw into the frame. You really don't have to. I did, but I found screws in Hobby Lobby where they didn't have a hole for a screw to go into the frame, and it stayed flush against the wall. I framed the flamingo that way. I also placed rubber dots on the screw heads around the ones that I did, and on those felt tips that touch the bottom of the wall. Just extra precautions so that no part of the wall gets marked up. Okay, so now I'm just getting in close so that you can get a real good look at it. There's a few spots that I do have to touch up, so I'll give it a once over and do that. And but overall, I'd say this was another framing success, well, on a low budget. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.